So this is a video of how to take and create one of these what we call CSV file uploaders. They're not comma separated now, it's pipe separated, but it's just the comma separated thing. So basically I'm going to share my screen here. And the first thing we're going to do is start with the program, which is, these are Pape programs. So we'll go there, take a look at we have this little utility that will take and read the header file that we get. So we have to start with one of the files. So let's just for fun look at, we'll use Build Trust since that's the latest one. We'll take a look at one of their files. So if we look at one of these files, we'll see that it has we have all of these column headers. File has to have column headers. Notice it has to have, there's the vertical bars. The other thing that's important to recognize in this is each line has to have, each data line must end with a double tilde. That's how we know that we've got the whole line. We're reading an unstructured file up on the tandem, and we're using the C fread and fopen and so forth. So it's doing it based on character turn line. But anyway, that's how we know we've got the last one. So if we go ahead with this program and we browse to that file, which is the last one I did. We open that file and we tell it what we're going to call it in this. So we're going to call this build BT cache _rec, and we'll say it's BTC is the prefix. And we're not doing SQL, so we don't need that. Now, if you've already got a DDL, which we do, so I'm going to open up the DDL and look, and we can see that the one that was created for us has BTC in it. So typically what happens is someone will take that and create a DDL, and of course we've got a 30-character limit on field lengths, so we'll have to deal with the fact that what we get may be slightly different. But let's go and look at our program. So that BTC is fine. BTC cache is wrong, I think. What was it called? BT cache in rec. In rec. And then we just push make. What happens in this is we get a bunch of defines for each one of the columns. And then this file has a ton of them. And then we get this, I have a macro that's in the code that's called my copy, and it takes the index, if you will, and it creates the record and all the other things that we're going to do in this. So we have the copy for every one of the fields. We then, in some cases, if there's a fixed, it's going to deal with, in this case, it's dealing with numeric. And then there's some things that will fix dates. We don't know right now which field is which from this program, so it creates one for every single item that it found. It then shows what the DDL might be, so if we wanted to start the DDL ourselves, we could. Obviously, some of those will have to be changed because they're too long. And then we have these logs. So if we want to dump it out and debug, or if there's an error, it will actually then log each one of the fields. And I think that's all there is in that. So typically we take that, we copy that, and I typically just stash it in here somewhere. So it doesn't really matter. So now we have all of them and we can use them. I then go into our Eclipse project, and we're going to say which one are we going to start with. And I don't remember what the last one I did. I don't know that it matters. But we're going to take one of these and just for fun. I think stock was the last one. Let's see which one. One of the, yeah, this had sequels. So that's the last, that's the latest code I think that I had. So I take and copy that, and then I paste it. Paste, 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 paste. There it is. And so we're going to call this BT cache test for right now. Okay, we'll dump that in there. Just want to make sure we don't screw up the real good stuff. So I typically come in here at this point. I will delete both of these because we don't need them. And then I don't need a live. Well, if we're doing SQL, then we do need to do that. We're going to have to compile up on the tandem to get the SQL stuff, and then we can download the live file and so forth. That's not what we're talking about primarily here. So one of the first things we want to do is edit this with a text editor, and we need to change a couple things here. So we want this to be the same name, BT cache test. Otherwise, it will overwrite the other one. And then we can change, again, the same thing here and here, with the vproc and so forth. Then we go into this one. We're going to need most of those. So we aren't going to need to do SQL. So I'm going to delete the SQL item. And then I'm going to take and rename this to BT cache test, because that's what we're doing. Okay. And then we go to, oh, we can delete the live here. We go into the headers. We don't need the DSQL, so we can delete it. And we can then rename this one to here. And that's all we need to do. And then the one other thing we typically are going to do is go up here and look at our build settings. And miscellaneous is okay. Libraries, we don't need the libraries, so we can delete them in this case. Preprocessor, we're not doing SQL, so we can delete this. Well, actually, we can go and manage the configurations. We don't need this one. Delete. Okay. Make that our active. So now we're not doing SQL. So do that. The includes are fine. We make. if we're going to do SMTP and XML, then we need those. These programs typically aren't the actual build trust cache that I did. We ended up needing those. Everything else is pretty much the same. Oh, and then the build artifact. And that's all we need to do here. Then we go in and we start a Visual Studio project. It's going to be a new one. And typically I do an empty project, C++ empty project. I do a next, and then it's a BT cache test. And where do we want to park it? It's going to be in Pape. And for right now, I'll go ahead and put it in now. I'm just going to create a test folder. All right, we'll put it in there. And then we can say create, and I can say. And then we come up here, we want to specify where they are. We're going to add existing item, not new. We're going to then go to our workspace. And we're going to go to our header files, select them all. We don't need that one. We're going to get our real DDL. Okay, add. We're then going to go to our source files, do the same thing, except we're going to go in the source directory. We get all of these, add. Then I go up here to properties. I want to go to C++, the include directory. In our case, we're going to go and drill to where we were again, workspace. And we're going to say it's the headers. Okay, and then at this point, it's important to do a save all. Now, one other thing we want to do is we want to copy into our, we need the header file for the, from the DDL. So if we go to, again, I'm sort of mixing and matching, but I'm using the one we really did, BT, BT CAS, FI. So I have run the DDL through what I did, type DDLS. So this is what I start with. So this is the header file I'm going to need. And then this is the DDL that was given to me from, I don't know, Cindy, I think. Maybe it was Robert. And then I've modified it to add some stuff for the program, but that's not the important thing. I then also have some logs that I had for some of the stuff I was doing. But anyway, this will then give us what we need. And we have the header file. So I can go ahead and copy that header file down to it. So I'm going to go up here to this, and I want to get my backup, and I want to refresh, so it picks up my, oops. The header. I want to make sure that I'm doing an ASCII transfer, and that's my header file. So I'm going to copy that over. Oh, really? That's my problem. Oh, not again. I am so frustrated. Okay, well, something screwed up on my system. So I'm going to, I know where it is, so I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy the one that was there. I'm going to go copy the file. That's the one we've been using. We'll go here, we'll put it in the headers. I'll copy it. And then I need to add that header file over here. All right. And then again, I do a save just to make sure that I've still got that. Now, obviously, now we've changed the name. So we go into our program here and we change this. So we call this DDL UT cache test. And I'm going to do a replace all. And then this doesn't really matter one way or the other. 3. So now we have that. And that's all we need right now in this one. We'll save it. We can go to the actual program. We're going to do the same thing. We're not doing SQL, so I'm just taking them out. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of all this DDL because it's not accurate anymore. These we take out. And we need to get the ones out of our file. So we come in here, we go back up to the beginning, and we grab all of them. In this case, let's see where we need to go back to it. So you notice that I left the ID check because we're going to need that. And we need to set it in this particular case, they are, instead of adding another column and calling it check, they changed the iConstant field. So I just go ahead and I need the thing called ID check, so I just change it to that. And we're not doing notes. That was if we had a program here that was doing it. We don't have SQL. Delete that. We don't need to add date to SQL or number to SQL. We're not doing SQL. And there's our fixed date routine that may need to get changed based on whatever date format that's actually in the file. Same thing with time if we're doing it. Configuration, I don't think ends up changing at all. It's not normally. This is that copy routine that I said we use. And then we have our load record. So the first thing we have to do up here is we don't have a VS stock. So we do need to go back and change that VS stock. So we don't, sorry, we don't need notes. Delete that. And if we look at our header file, we'll see what the record type actually is. So the record type is this guy. So we need to change this everywhere. Okay. And then this is just What did we call it in our header? In our thing here, we want to, whatever we called it in this. That's what we want to call it right now. So we come in here and we change this to that, to that. And it's not case sensitive, but anyway. Okay, so now we have those. We can grab this. Go back over to here, we can find this guy. Okay. Go back up to our load record. And now, first thing we want to do is delete all of the ones that are in there. Like that. And then we're going to take and change that. And now we go over to this and grab all of our guys. So I'm only going to grab a handful of these right now, since we're just doing this for a test, but you're going to grab them all. And this then says, okay, so it's not called bank lock box number. We have to find out what it's actually called. Bank lock. And that's what it's called. So we go in there and we change it like that. And we'd have to do that for every single one of them. Now let's just for grins find one of these that happens to be numeric. And let's see, can't tell the way that the C++C doesn't deal with the pick nines properly. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the DDL and see which one had one in there. I think we had the DDL in there. So yeah, let's take one of these down here. Creditor alignment. Just so that you can see how that gets done. What? No, it's not finding it. Let's see if we can find it. Huh. There we go. Go back up here. Yeah, this thing has just tons. So this, let's say we'd copied all of these over. into our program. But we find out that this is really a, it's a pick 9. So we're going to have to figure out what to deal with that pick 9. So go back to our DDL. Excuse me. We don't need this again. We go back to here. And we grab this guy. So we're going to replace this with this guy, but we need to tell it what is the correct value there. So we need to go back and look at our DDL. We see that the DDL for that field is S99V99. So we put in S99V99. That is one of the recognized in Make Fixed of how to process that particular field. So you can see all of the different types that this can handle. And if you have some that are different, then you're going to have to edit this and make changes to it. You can see we have some 9, 9, 2, 9, 4, 9, 5, 7, and 9. S99V99. I guess do we have that in there twice? We do. Which doesn't matter. So that's what's there. So let's go back to. So that's how we deal with the fixed numbers. Again, we have a fixed date issue. Some of those things are dates. When we looked at it, we have something called date. Yeah. So we have the export date. So we can look for envelope. Like I say, every field has all of the different ones. So you copy that, and that's going to replace the one that you will put in there that had a make copy. And then the only thing we have to do is take a look at the data and make sure that this program properly converts the data that you're seeing into a date that we want. So if we want year, month, day, then we need to make sure the program does that. But we go through and we do that all the way. We do now exactly the same thing in log. So, and we go in then to our log. We had all of our log stuff. Some more down here, just a ton of it. And we just grab the ones that we want. And we paste them in. And again, we have to deal with what is it really called. And use IntelliSense if you don't want to go look at it. And there we are. We would just go through and do all of the different ones for displaying it. And that, believe it or not, is pretty much what it needs to do. Now, you might have to change make fixed if you have some numerics that aren't already handled by the program. Typically don't have to change that. We don't have to change the count bars. Process file, we typically don't have. Oh yes, we do have to. So we have to change this to what was it supposed to be? And then we call that whatever it was, BTK in red. And I can't remember where we changed that. I guess we'll find it. Probably where the red line is. Yep. And again, we're not doing SQL, so we can take this out. And this is going to be value that's there. And that's it. And then you just compile it. And we can then go back to, obviously the more you have in your DDL, the more you have to do. So let's see if it'll compile just for fun. So we missed something. Usually means we got one of our headers mixed up. Shouldn't be. Don't think that's going to be it. That is our deal. See what we do that. All right. It's really something. Yes. This is the lovely benefit of let's see. It's whether it's in the right order or not. That's it. And that's how it gets done. The main challenge, obviously, is figuring out which ones are dates, which ones are pick nines, getting the names of the fields in there. More tedious than anything else, but that's the process. I don't think there's anything else I can think of. No, so we'll say we're done.